Buckle up, folks. We are on the last half of Fatal Attractions. This is Wolverine 75, and this is the immediate aftermath of X-Men 25 when Magneto ripped all the adamantium from Wolverine's. Now, I love the collaboration in comics, how one writer will do a certain tone and then the next writer that picks it up will do something different, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But this is interesting because we end where the other half of this, where Magneto, Xavier wiped, basically shut down Magneto's brain. Everyone's getting ready to leave Avalon. Bishop's coming with the Blackbird to pick him up. And it says they leave this heaven, a shattered place, leaving behind one of their own, and perhaps a part of their innocence. And Peter Nikolaevich Rasputin finds he has no tears to shed for them, or Magneto, Ileana, or himself. In the silence, one can almost hear the fading of a dream. 25 read to me much like a Shakespearean tragic story. Now, we get into Wolverine 75, and I feel like everything just gets amped up immediately to 11. But before we dive into that, I love how through this series they've been adding all the different covers and trading cards that were part of the Fatal Attraction era, and these were the cards that I grew up with, and glad that I still have a good majority of them. Now, with that said, remember, they said Bishop's come with the Blackbird to pick him up. You ever been hurt so bad you couldn't hear anything but a high-pitched roar? Realize that it was the sound of yourself screaming? You'll have to do something for him, Professor. We can't just let Logan die, not after all we've just been through. His wounds are so grave that even his mutant healing factor and his indomitable will are taxed to their very limits. The meta unit we encased him is doing all it can to stabilize his physical trauma. I'm afraid it will require a silent conclusion into the core of his subconscious to alleviate the psychic trauma. Jean, I'm ready, Professor, but are you sure you're up to this? So we just see the Blackbird blasting through outer space. They're realizing what they need to do to try and help Logan. And then we enter his mind, and I love how it says nightmares persist. And this is just straight up nightmare fueled. Now, before we dive into this, this is Larry Hama writing, Adam Kubert penciling, Mark Farmer, Dan Green, and Mark Pennington doing the inks, Matt Brousseau letterer, Bob Harris editor, Steve Buccolotto colorist, and Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. So a lot of big names on this particular issue. There's a world on the other side of pain, full of horror and hopelessness and concentrated suffering, but there's no fear here. What's there to fear when you're in the middle of the worst that can happen? And Jean is just basically saying that this is a fever dream. And Xavier says, you know better than that, Jean. I realize you're worried about Logan, but we must tread ever so cautiously here. These traumatic memories are interwoven into the very fabric of Logan's personality. And so we see the homage to when he was crucified by the Reavers. Of course, his suffering at the hands of Weapon X. Lady Deathstrike, of course, his fights and feuds with Sabretooth, his time with Weapon X itself. Just great little nods to his history. And then, of course, with Magneto ripping the adamantium from Wolverine's bones. How can we just stand by and do nothing? What was the purpose of coming in here? To wait and watch and be prepared to counter the collapse of the matrix upon which the web of his personality is spun. To be encouragement in the realm of despair. To be friends at the brink of his ultimate loneliness. And so I believe at this time, 1991, I believe was when Barry Windsor Smith's Marvel Comics Presents Weapon X came out. So we got to see Logan's past, but still he does not know who he is. So we actually get to see moments of the adamantium tank here. And she goes, this is the stuff of fever dreams, but hauntingly familiar. Familiar, this alien landscape. Not familiar maybe, but definitely not alien. Oh, I see it was the skill. Skill, I don't. And so we see, that's not the professor. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but those were the characters from Windsor Smith's run. She goes, oh Lord, it's the Genesis tank at the Weapon X project. We're now privy to events that Logan has never seen fit to share with us. We're here to help him, Professor, but this is a violation of the worst order. It was wrong. It was wrong with Magneto, it's wrong here. I did what had to be done for Magneto. As for Logan, the termination of the Psylink has already been necessitated. So we come back and we see that the Blackbird is just about tearing apart. And Pietro saying, we can scrub the descent and repilot a shallow angle. On a Quinjet, such a maneuver would be fairly simple. The Blackbird was never designed to function as an orbital shuttle. We don't have enough fuel to begin a stabilized orbit. And so, right there, we start to get the PTSD of what happened back in X-Men 101. No, 100, when they're trying to get back to Earth and everyone goes into that radiation chamber except for Jean to pilot the ship. The med unit comes loose, smacks Logan against the wall. And so we don't have moments to breathe here. This is basically a hell run back to Earth. And Wolverine wakes up. There's no painkillers, Charles. It hurts because my body's fixing itself. I can take it. I don't want to be numb. I'm going to be by the farm. And Rogue's just like, oh God, look at him knitting himself back together. I'd be dancing in the aisles, Charles, if I was put back together. We don't have a clue about how the healing factor works, and the amount of damage may be too much of a strain in an overloaded system. Look at his hand here. Just as I feared, the wounds reopen. The healing factor can't keep up with the ongoing tissue deterioration. He's burning up. And then we get to, I believe this is Muir Island. Jubilee's there. And Moira's trying to basically walk Charles through how to keep him stable. And she's like, why can't you talk to me telepathically? And he's like, I'm trying to use my telepathic skills to keep Logan calm. She goes, monitor his temperature constantly. If it goes above 108, he can go into seizures. Keep him talking. I don't want to let him get self-absorbed and morbid. And Jubilee's just like, oh, Wolverine. So you feel the pain. And then everyone kind of bum rushes Moira, and she's just like, everyone shut up. And then we get a moment with Cyclops. He goes, it's happening all over again. Just like the shuttle pummeling through the radiation storm back when Jean turned into the Phoenix. Magneto. Xavier re-enters Logan's mind. And we see everything that's happening. It's worse than I imagined. The silence vibrates with the middle screams and been nullified. Here, the lame may walk, run, and leap. Here, the blind may see the electric eyes and the rip with claws of mythic metal. This is the bloody Shiloh of Logan's vital essence. Here, the pure lines of logic have been intersected by the variable wave of pain. Here is re-engined the personal Ragnarok of a shattered soul, staged with accumulated props and bandages of traumas past. I'm coming for you, Mags. I'm going to rip your guts out. And just when we think we get to the end, Logan's saying, Charles, let me go. And he goes, Logan, it's death. Oh, Charlie, don't you think I know that? So they're getting ready to hit an electrical storm on Earth, and everything starts to come to a crescendo here. Now, spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled. Logan says, goodbye, Charles. The light's calling me. And we see this angel, the light, who I know you, Ileana. I'm ready to go, darling. We just see that look of finality on Logan's face. What? Don't push me away, darling. Don't. Now the door, the Blackbird rips open, sucks Jean out. Can't maintain control by myself. Can't hold on. Help me, Remy. Then we see this hand grab. Then we hear, give me your hand, Jean. Bring me back, Logan. You thought Professor Xavier said you couldn't let it happen to you again, darling. Logan, your life graphs have bottomed out. The med unit scanners, you came back for me. Got it the other way around, Jean. It was you who reached out and took me back. So there's just very much lots of adrenaline there to see. I like how they wanted to make the return of Wolverine more dramatic, and damn did Larry Hama do it with a lot of, what do you call it, sort of militaristic, because that's what he's known for. You know, he was a war vet, so getting out of a war zone, literal war zone, you could just feel the intensity. And then I love how we just use dialogue that says time heals all wounds, showing back to the professor's mansion, some better than others. Moira won't let Wolverine enter the danger room because I appreciate your concern, Moira, but I need to prove that I still deserve a place on this team. You'll always have a place with the X-Men. Don't you know that by now? Not if I can't pull my own weight, Jeannie. So he goes for it. Only 2 of the walking can openers. I can eat them for breakfast. One slashes at Logan. You have beautiful artwork and the use of the paneling. Look at that, just that in your face. He can barely get out of the way in time. That look on his face, was it? Of course, Beast says. Myra says, put a stop to this. No. He has to know this about himself. He has to experience it. And so this is where we get the iconic scene where Xavier says, shall I terminate the end of the exercise? I'm just getting warmed up, Charlie. These piles of scrap metal and circuit boards ain't got nothing on the old knucklehead. Charles, don't listen to her. I may be down, but I ain't out. I'm still the best at what I. And instead of seeing Snick, we hear shunk. And that's where we get this splash panel from. His claws, they're bone. How can they be? Get down here. Get him to attract them. Stop bleeding. Shut down those battle droids. Wolvie. Ugh, I need the metacart. I should have suspected. Number 2 sutures. Of course, the adamantium was leached. Coagulant. What about the healing factor? And the 2 units of whole blood. It's healing factor used to close the wounds. Will in the autoclave. You mean every time he, get out of my way, I got to get to him. And then we hear Jubilee scream, Wolvie. Whew. So what happens here is that Logan says, I don't know much about my past. Like if these bone claws of mine are bone, then I must have been born with them. How come I can't remember them before they were bonded with adamantium? How come I always thought they were implants? And I always loved the relationship, the father-daughter dynamic that Logan and Jubilee had. Now, don't get me wrong, the one that he had with Kitty, along with Rogue, was great. But this one was always the most iconic because Jubilee really looked up to him, especially since she didn't have parents of her own. But unfortunately, as the book comes to an end, Wolverine has to go and find out who he is. And the letter that he writes Jubilee is heartbreaking. So essentially, the X-Men's portion of Fatal Attraction ends here. And I've read it many times over the years, and it still gets to me. It still hits me in the feels. And that's when you know that a series, a book, what have you, will stand the test of time. So guys, if you've never read Wolverine 75 or Fatal Attractions, highly recommend it. Please, first and foremost, go support your local comic shop and either get the collected trade or the single copies. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little adamantium bell, next upload that way I get to upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel. I love talking with you on hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading and happy hunting, everyone.